know.
Like you're looking at me.
Yeah, I'm good to go. Okay, we are good to go. Let's open this up. First meeting in since October, I think, eh? Welcome everybody. Welcome. Judy. Oh,
Carry on.
okay, very good. Welcome, Judy.
Hi.
Officially, are you sticking with us or are we
So far.
so far? Good.
That's how you start every.
Excellent. Okay, we'll just jump right in. Approval of the agenda. Any late items? Not that we know of?
Nothing from me.
Okay. So we will go with hands up for approval of agenda. Everybody in favor? Everybody's had a chance to read it, I'm assuming. Excellent. Adoption of the minutes. Those in the bottom, yep. So just to move on adoption of the minutes from August 10th. All in favor? Yeah, unanimous. Thank you very much. No public comments, stuff?
No public
No
comments.
public comments. And we actually have to look at the door this time.
Mhm.
We've never had comments. Sure. Okay, straight into item 4, business arising. So are we good to just jump into this section 4? You want to review, Jenna? Jump right in on that.
So the Spectator, to just remind everybody what that piece of art is, that's the one that's at the turf field. It's an eagle on top of a base made from a cedar tree that was removed, that was felled during the construction of the turf field. So that sculpture, the sculpture itself is fine. It needs a little care and maintenance, but it's the base that's the problem. So the bottom part of the base, it has a copper ring around the bottom, which has just been collecting water. So the bottom is quite rotten. And the school district has slated it for removal or remediation because of it. They've deemed that it's a risk. It's a safety hazard now. So, and the current structural support system that it's using would not pass the current engineering standards of the school. So it would need a new bracket. The base would need to be cut significantly shorter to be above the rot. If it were to be relocated as it is, I mean, it needs a lot of assessment. So it can't stay in the existing location. The school has said that's not an appropriate location for it. The district has said so. One of the school staff spoke to the artist who is willing to refinish the sculpture at his expense. And he's lining up a truck to bring it all down this summer. So he'll be bringing the pedestal and the sculpture down. The school is willing to look at possible new locations, relocating it at the school somewhere. But any plan for reinstallation in different location would require sign off by the district and their engineering with plans that they approve and installation methodologies that they approve and all that. So I was given a quote or an estimate based on, do you know the sculpture that's down by the outdoor learning center, the totem pole, sorry, that's down there?
Oh, the new one?
Yeah, the newer one that's down there. And there's always orange rocks around the base of it. So that one was cost about $7,000 or $8,000 to install. So we're looking at that. So that was the price comparison that we were given.
Did that include the fabrication of the strong back? Or was that just taking all the parts and
No, that's for the base and the base and install, I think, the full
thing, including the concrete?
I would have to fully check on.
Okay.
that. So, yeah. That was just a rough estimate I was given for that.
Do you know who did that install?
No, I can find that out too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if it was like, if it was the muni, maybe we.
It would
give it a
absolutely
deal
not.
or-
Wouldn't have been
No,
uni.
okay.
No, it's not a municipal
Oh, okay.
piece.
All right.
It's the school's piece.
Can I ask you about that?
It might go well down in our little corner by the gallery. It might, the intention of it, and I think we had this written in our. Excellent. The intention of the piece, oh, sorry, now I can't find it on this inventory. Was that it was overlooking the field in the school. That was the intention with the artist, but
Hence the name.
exactly, but it was a piece that was undertaken at, at the will of the artist and installed at the will of the artist. It wasn't necessarily commissioned art piece. So I'm not sure what the tie is or like the.
Tied to site.
Yeah.
Who owns this?
It's slightly complicated. I guess the municipality owns it, but it was essentially, the municipality did the rock work and hired somebody to do the art, to do that rock work and to build those retaining walls.
Okay.
And then that person decided to also gift this piece of art as part of that project. So it was not actually requested.
So it says here shared by BIM and School District 45, which I'm assuming is fixed.
Yeah,
So we share it with him?
I don't,
We don't have any paperwork for like deed of gift kind of thing, do we?
absolutely not. No, it was just basically put up
Right.
by somebody who decided to do that.
Yeah,
So, and then the school said, well, it's on our property, but we didn't, buy it or commission. And the municipality paid for that rock work and then this appeared. So it's a bit of a anomaly.
yeah, so they don't think they own a school.
The schools, no, they don't think,
Okay.
and nor do they necessarily want responsibility for it.
Yeah. Do we?
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm just updating us on
Yeah,
the
sure.
situation. So I think it's in good enough shape for several more years. I haven't actually been to the top of or it's really high.
Yeah.
Right, so I haven't been out there to assess that.
Right. I mean, because the history with carbon poles is when they're done, they fall over and they just naturally decay. That's the,
Well, it's not a pole, it's an eagle.
oh, it's not a car, okay.
No, it's a carved eagle that sits
And
atop a cedar.
So that's not
Trunk,
considered
that
like
was-
a totem pole.
No,
It's not a totem pole, no.
Oh, okay, no, is it First Nations artist?
No. Shane
No,
Creed, right?
Yeah.
No.
And I think it was his change.
Oh, it was, yes. Right.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, we don't necessarily have any commitment or obligation to this piece,
Right.
but it's something that is available.
We as PAAC or we as BIM?
Both, I think.
See, I would,
I mean, the PAC doesn't have,
we certainly don't have any responsibility for it.
No.
Because it certainly predated our existence by a large degree, but if the ownership is listed as being Bowen Island municipality, even if it's shared with School District 45.
I think we need to define list.
I think somebody's put that into a chart without really
Mhm.
researching.
Researching that, so we've got
So there's, I mean, it was
evidence that
gifted.
it was gifted,
Mhm.
right?
It was
Okay.
in an informal fashion.
And has the artist have any ideas of what to do?
I haven't spoken with him.
Oh, okay.
So who said they would remove it? Shane said they would
Yeah.
remove it?
Shane would, I didn't speak with him though. Sarah spoke with him, but he will bring it down. I don't imagine he'd be reinstalling.
No,
And I don't think we would necessarily just say, oh, yeah, go ahead.
and he's willing to do this free of charge, like no charge.
Taking it down,
Taking it down.
and,
Cutting the bottom off. Getting rid of the row.
well, most importantly, addressing the eagle itself, giving it, an updated code of anything that it might need to protect it.
Okay, so we.
It's kind of two pieces in a way, right? There's the art itself, the eagle,
Mhm.
and then there's a large chunk of cedar trunk
Yeah,
that was.
so we need to confirm, regardless of where the ownership ends up lying. I think in a situation like this, probably the municipality will end up having to deal with it to some degree, just because it's a serious liability hazard now. Could be potentially, if that rod is significant. We're just talking about a bunch of kids playing around there all day, right? So we need to confirm if the artist has agreed to take like just the eagle, or if he's actually going to take down the entire cedar trunk.
He has to take down the entire cedar trunk. It's all one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is
Yeah.
like, it's like the cedar
Yeah.
trunk, and then at the top of the same trunk is the carved eagle.
Yeah. If he doesn't take it down, the school district will. It is slated for removal from its present location and
Okay.
installation method.
So him agreeing to take it down is more of a salvage operation for himself, like he'll take it.
I think he would be quite happy for it to be relocated,
Okay.
of course, yeah.
But that, so that discussion, any discussion of relocation is something that can happen after the work is taken down.
Mhm.
And we can run that, however that might be arranged and wherever it might go would be something we could put into a proper contract at that time and kind of bring this thing back into some sort of framework that is more official than where it sits right now, which is kind of, okay.
Yeah. And we could potentially acknowledge that it was never received and it would then, therefore would have to go through the process outlined in our policies.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that, and I know that we spoke about this briefly, Joel, and I want to make sure, and I'll note it here that PAAC, given its limited resources and the fact that the work predates our existence by at least a dozen years, that we're not tasked with being in any way responsible for funds to facilitate the removal.
No, I don't think that's on the table.
Okay, I want to make sure that we note that, because I don't want it, I don't want there to be an assumed expectation that we're gonna now deal with the problem just because we're now a public art advisory committee and
It's on our list.
it's on our list. Yeah,
I don't think
No.
that's the intention. No, I was
Okay.
specifically told that the artist is lining up a truck to remove it this summer.
okay.
This summer.
And who's his point of contact with
Sarah Haxby, it's
Sarah Haxby? Okay. And Sarah is like, I guess my question would be, is she officially speaking on behalf of school district 74?
correct.
Yeah, okay,
45, yeah.
45. Okay. Are you her point of contact with Owen?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, in this scenario.
in this
I guess
scenario, yeah.
actually most things.
Okay. I just see, yeah, as long as it-
Talk to me about it.
So, and she'll keep you apprised of whatever is going on.
And vice versa. I would
Yeah.
let her know of any decision we make.
Okay, perfect. Good, okay. Awesome. Is that it? Anybody have any other questions? Yes,
So it seems to me there's like 4 parts to this, the removal and restoration, and we're hoping and assuming that Shane's gonna do all of that. And he's gonna liaise with Sarah and get that done in whatever timely fashion.
removal, yes.
Yeah.
Restoration, no.
And he wants to restore it.
He wants to refinish the sculpture,
Okay.
Yeah.
And then.
not
He
the,
can-
not the base. It's the
Whatever.
sculpture, yeah.
Right.
He can do whatever he wants. It's his.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so then the next question is, do we want it for any part of another installation somewhere? You know, and or does he just get to keep it for himself? And if so, where? Whether it's going to be on School District 45 or on BIM property, possibly Metro. In terms of parkland, if it's in the Cove, and the cost to reinstall it and who pays for that?
Right, so
Mhm.
definitely. Those would all be things we'd have to deal with down the road. It would have to go through our accession
Okay,
policy procedure. And it, whether it makes it through there or not is, would be determined under that process.
okay, so how do you start the policy for accessioning?
Well, we have an accession policy. We can go through that for this piece. How would we start it? I think,
Has to express
yeah,
a statement of interest to make the donation.
Ah.
And it's outlined in the policy, what's needed.
So then the next steps are all up to Shane
pretty much.
to remove it, to do whatever restoration, and if he wants us to consider it becoming part of our collection.
Yeah, the reinstallation question is a really big one.
Yes, and
Obviously.
If he makes the some sort of an overture in terms of donating it, then we have to look at all of those details.
That's correct, yeah. And there's also a big question of location because
Yeah.
every choice of jurisdiction
Yeah.
involves a lot of other
Yeah,
questions that we would have to steer through, yeah.
sure, all of that accessioning policy. So is that written out?
Accession policy?
Yeah.
Is that the same as the acquisition policy procedure?
Within our policy, the public art.
Oh, look at you.
That's appendix A.
Can we give that to Shane?
We could,
Give it to Sarah.
maybe
give it
a
to
little
Shane?
premature now, but probably doesn't matter.
Just so he knows that's the process.
Sure.
Yep.
Is everybody in favor of that move?
Julian's action item for that?
Yep.
Excellent.
He may already have a place,
He may.
a private property or something. Who knows? No, I don't know Shane, so I don't know.
He's a neighbor 2 doors down from me. He's renting. And always a question whether or not that landlord is going to renovate or whatever. And his work is it also, I think, is I'm not sure how solid that is. You know, he'd be looking for a nice spot for him.
Okay.
I don't think.
Yeah, as long as there's somewhat of a life left in it,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, that would have to be determined.
He can determine that when he
Sure.
pulls it down.
We may, he can, although, I know that he's, incredibly versed in, felling trees and understanding wood. That would be a question for us down the road if we, if it were proposed that we were going to, or we were considering putting it up somewhere else, if we're running through the proper process. Whether or not we felt that the risk of liability for municipality was high enough to engage a proper conservator to assess the structural integrity on the inside of the work, so that if we were to put it back up, we would know that it is gonna, stand up structurally soundly with all the seismic issues that may, impact the design of how it's going up, whether it's worth that time and effort. So that's gonna be another question.
Nothing over 2 feet.
Right? Just the eagle. Okay, thank you, Judy. that was very good. Good question, but action item out of it. Thank you, Julie.
Julian.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think you can just pass that along to both Sarah and Jane to say, listen, if you were at some point considering down the road, possibly offering it up as a donation for relocating, this is something you have to be aware of, and take into consideration.
It's a neighborhood, so if that is, Sarah's at the end of school year and all that kind of stuff. It's just gonna fall off the edge of her desk, let me know.
Okay. I don't think it's her desk that.
Whatever.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on from there. 4.2 is me. Next public art project. Jillian and I had a little bit of a conversation 2 weeks ago, briefly about a bunch of these things. So we took a nice hiatus after the roaring success of the Lock Wall mural, which is still going strong, I might add. Looks as good as the day it went up, really.
It looks, I actually saw a kid slide along it with his handlebars the other day. Did not leave a mark.
Come on, wow. All right.
He was getting out of the way of people who were walking.
Sure, he wasn't
kind of-
paying attention.
And I heard him hit it and I looked and there was nothing, no damage. So
All right.
it's bulletproof. It's got it.
Wow, it's incredible. Okay, so yeah, we should revisit this idea of what we're going to do next. Part of the work around the inventory was trying to determine also possible locations for another new artwork, whatever that might be or look like. I don't know that we've come up with any art locations.
Did, nope, I, what in passing was speaking to Liam,
Oh, okay.
who is supervising the new building. In some way, maybe not supervising, but he was involved
Yep.
in it. And he had an idea of a blank wall where he thought something should go.
A blank wall, exterior or interior?
Was it exterior, Jeff? I don't recall. Yeah, there you
Exterior
go.
on the new municipal hall.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's probably one of the retaining walls up in the front. Because there are a couple of retaining walls that would be seen, very visibly seen from Trunk Road.
okay.
Nice.
So that blank concrete.
Yeah.
space.
I think I wasn't part of that conversation, so I know it's been discussed, yeah, leading up to the front there.
Okay.
Right. In some place up in the community center.
It would be nice to do something there.
So concrete. Retaining wall.
I think we had talked about giving the community center a little creative image of some sort.
Yeah, I don't think there was nothing, there's nothing like specific in their development budget that was earmarked for public art or art, right?
No, I don't know so.
Okay,
Looking at windows.
you were looking at windows,
We're budgeting for windows.
budgeting for windows, okay, not art.
That's important. Yeah.
You do the windows first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably a good idea. Which, you know, it's interesting. I know there's a lot of ways in which art, if we think about it enough ahead of time, can be incorporated into things that are already being done. Like the windows, for instance, if we were to say, identify that as an opportunity for something, there's instead of, you know, your typical glass, other options with, you know, textured imagery or embedded photo murals and things like that are possible with less outlay before you order than trying to do something after the fact. So I don't know, it's probably too late for that conversation, but
Yeah, the windows are there.
the windows are there. All right.
I think years ago, Jackie had some kind of plan for something that would happen there. Yeah, I think it got, like, the budget wasn't there for it. And
There's definitely not the budget
yeah,
this time.
Jamie, how the Hearth property site, I know you with the new sculpture that is being installed on the auditorium, the stage, that was probably the only art opportunity that was identified through that
At this
at
point,
this
I
point.
think we want more public art in that space.
Okay.
We just haven't identified anything yet.
Right, okay, so, but it's not, is it possible that, through more conversation, a location on that lot might offer up another opportunity for locating some artwork?
It's BIM's property, so it would be up to them.
Okay,
Yes.
so it's not off the table, I'm just trying to.
Oh, it's not off the, I don't know. Scott, I think it's in the opinion of the Hearth, we would love to see some outdoor art pieces, but
Okay,
BIM owns the property, so they would have to manage it, insure it,
okay,
maintain it. So, you know, I don't know how I feel about that.
sure, absolutely. Rather than focus too much on like possible locations, which I think as we're all working through our separate parts of inventory, Judy, just to get you up to speed, we do have a quote unquote public art inventory. It's a little bit dodgy. We're trying to kind of solidify and clarify the information that is contained and make sure that what we have makes sense or is accurate as far as we can determine. And through that process, also thinking about possible other locations to place outdoor work throughout the island. So it doesn't, I mean, obviously the Cove is kind of primary significance just because of the foot traffic and the tourism concentration there. But we're certainly not necessarily writing off other locations throughout the island for that. And we did have Phil brought to the table in one of our previous meetings a proposal from a local artist conservator. Sorry, I'm blanking on Andrew Todd. Yes, thanks. Who has an existing work which he had built or created for the purposes of testing longevity of materials to some degree, or was that part of the?
He also is a sculptor,
He also is a sculptor.
and I think he wanted to make a very big metal sculpture. So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so it's an existing piece. It's pretty cool. Of course, we have to initiate that conversation through the lens of our accession acquisition policy. That's something that's definitely going to have to be revisited.
That was going to be our test case.
That was going to be our test case. Yeah, you're right, exactly. And part of the holdup, I think, with that was it opened up another question, which was please clarify if I'm remembering the proposal incorrectly, that Andrew was somewhat interested in putting this work outdoors in a temporary sort of capacity in order to assess the durability of the work itself.
Yeah, I mean,
Partly.
I think he wants that part of it. He also is an artist who wants to show his work.
Sure.
So I think we should treat it like not his experiment, but like
Yeah.
an artwork.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
He did not want to donate it. He wanted to. Well, he did want to donate it in terms of he would install it, but I don't think he wanted to relinquish ownership.
Right.
And so
yeah.
it would be like a long-term loan.
Right.
And maybe if he had a reason, he'd choose to remove it.
Right. If it got requested to be somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, those details can all be worked out. What I do think it brought up was this interesting idea of creating, and this is about the location, but creating a concrete plinth that could be fabricated in such a way that it could host multiple artworks every 2 years or 3 years or whatever the time frame was determined, and it could change depending on each artwork that was proposed, but we would have a location secured and rotate the artwork through that location. So we've invested a good pot of money for the infrastructure, but we're not repeating that big investment every time we do something. And that could be a nice location to cycle works through. And this would be a really great opportunity for a test case. We could it's a good learning experience for us as PAAC, utilizing the policies that we have drafted, because as you engage with the policies in real life, you find that there's gaps, there's things that are missing, things that work, things that don't, and we can adjust those accordingly without a lot of pressure, without a lot of overcommitting anything, and then see how that runs. And then while that sits, what we do, it gives us this nice buffer of assessing the process, but at the same time, planning ahead, lots of time to spare for the next possible work that would go in. So big holdup has been trying to find a location for the plinth, for the space, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah, I don't think. I haven't told, so I don't think Andrew knows that his donation has made us think about a plinth for temporary works.
Mhm.
I think unless he wants it for something specific, does not want it like just shipped back to him or like, okay, it's done, come collect it. I think he's got it in storage and he doesn't want it. I think he wants to keep it out in display. That's the impression I get.
Okay.
So this may end up being two different things, this temporary plinth idea.
Yep.
And his donation or like promised or long-term loan
Mhm.
installed. He may not want one. I'm just saying he may not want if it's got like a 2 or 5 year life. And then he has to take it back, he may not want
Right.
to donate it.
And that's something that we're gonna have to just discuss, whether that's something we want to engage in. If it's going to be sort of an indefinite thing, I mean, obviously, we're going to have to, if we were to accept it, we go under contract. In that contract, all those details about timeline, maintenance responsibilities, all that sort of stuff will be laid out. And whether Andrew at the end, agrees to that or not. Neither that precludes whether we pursue the Flint thing, but it would be nice if we could put those two things together. So yeah, I think obviously, we'll have to put that on the agenda for the next meeting. Steph, and I think what we should do is make a point to go through Andrew's submission again.
Sorry, the plinth or Andrew?
Andrew's proposal.
Thank you.
We'll go through that again, get refamiliarized with that and lay out some action items. I mean, some of them are gonna fall to you, Phil, because you've been the point of contact, and just to get that conversation moving forward, but we should be able, as a group, we should be able to answer, like, based on the close reading of the proposal, what are we willing to entertain as possible parameters of the adoption or the donation if we were to accept it? So we should go through that. Judy.
And
sorry.
sorry, Judy.
Judy.
Oh, and location and cost of installation, which I'm assuming would fall on us.
I recall his proposal said he would cover the cost of the concrete pad, but he just doesn't have the location would be on us.
Right, of course, yeah.
Okay, but see that,
We think that with the price of concrete.
Yeah.
right, and whether
Do we
that,
know anybody from the Biennale committee in Vancouver? Because they're doing all of these temporary installations that stay up for 7 years.
yep, we deal with them routinely.
So they must have some process in terms of whatever the plinth is, whatever the concrete pad. It seems to me that you'd have to have it covered most 90% of, or at least 100% of the time, so that you didn't have things sticking up in terms of brackets or.
Well, normally, a pad, a concrete pad that would be supporting some kind of three-dimensional sculpture is built oversized.
And it's just plain concrete, there's no rod sticking
Oh,
out?
for sure. When I'm thinking about it, there would be, you could do two things. You could have recessed fastening points, so they would be like at grade or below grade, built into the concrete structure. So there's no tripping hazard, I think is what you're getting at. That something would be sticking up, pose a danger.
The lawyer thinks of liability.
That's correct, yeah. If it were a situation where we knew we were going to have this rotating display mechanism, obviously there's going to be a period of time where there's nothing there. So yeah, we would want to reduce that liability. Sort of hidden fasteners, let's call them hidden fasteners, is something that could be incorporated within the plinth itself. So it's like flush at grade. And then any work that's getting then proposed would have to have a common mounting structure that would then fit into it. And it would then itself be attached to it. And of course, all of that would be determined by engineering. They would just say, okay, for such and such amount of weight load, wind load, height of structure, you need a base plinth at such a size and depth and so many fastening points and that kind of thing. So
What's the rate of income for this work in the city?
it's changing.
So is it basically just enough to put in these installation basics?
Yeah, it's 10,000 a year that's put into the public art reserve. And then we can annually request additional maintenance costs to cover that.
So if we've got $7,000 or $8,000 for one of these plinths or concrete things, then that's basically we're helping or organize a site for an installation. as opposed to buying big pieces and installing them.
Mhm. That would exhaust though.
I don't think we ever be buying things.
Oh, we're not buying.
No. We get donated things.
We would, well, I mean, we partly will eventually, I hope, as the committee grows and matures and, you know, perhaps, we're successful in arguing for more funding. That
Or the big development.
or big development, if we don't have any mechanism right now that would tie any, our budget income to development, not like Vancouver.
1% or something.
Oh, that's determined like by jurisdiction. So every municipality has their own arrangement with that sort of system. We don't have any.
I think on bonnets, trails and beach access. is what the developers have to give you.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's
Or
their
amenity contributions.
amenity contribution. Right.
A million years ago on the Hearth Committee, I helped write up the original terms of reference. I thought we put in a percentage, like 1% or something.
Maybe it's
Guess that
accruing
didn't get
somewhere.
passed. Okay.
Really? Okay. Is that something we can confirm?
We can look into that. I don't think it
Never
exists.
heard of it.
No.
Well, you would know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
But, getting back, what was the?
Cost of the investment in the plinths,
Right.
so then we don't have to year after year pay for installment as well as purchase.
That's right. Yeah, that's something that's like, you know, an upfront cost. Once it's done, there's really no maintenance on it. It doesn't cost us anymore to have that or not have that. Hello?
I was going to watch.
Okay, sure.
Out in the building.
Yes.
Lurking? Lurking. Don't come sit around the table. Come on.
I'll leave you for the day. Okay, yeah, welcome to join us. Come on. We met briefly. Hi, Judy Scott. Yeah, nice to meet you.
First in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For ages.
Went really well.
That's good.
We're just on the topic of determining new artworks. So we're having discussions about locations and possible donation proposals. So well, we're really just about to wrap that up. Were there any? So we've got review of Andrew Todd's proposal on the agenda for next time. I don't think there's anything for you to do with Andrew prior to that, right? There's nothing further to that
Well,
conversation.
yeah, he saw our guidelines,
Yep.
submitted his application, and that's where we left it.
That's where we like, okay, yeah, we've taken a big break on that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay, we'll open that conversation back up next meeting.
We did also work on some revisions to the acquisition procedures. So Phil had been working on that, so we need to readdress that and make a recommendation for council to approve that.
To approve those amendments. Okay. Yeah, but should we discuss that also at the next meeting? Go through that one more time?
Yeah.
Clarify all that, yeah?
I don't remember the proposed amendments. Do we have a document for that?
You submitted some work on it that we would just acknowledge that we did have this
Yeah.
policy. And so we need to go through your submission, pull out the bits that are different and slip them into the existing
Oh,
policy.
okay.
We then recommend that
I
council.
thought we'd done that. Okay, good. Yeah, all right.
And by we, I mean, we, at some point.
Action items.
Yeah, it's on the list.
So that's on, okay, list for their next meeting agenda.
We just add Hope Commons property to this list.
Of possible new locations?
Yeah,
What's Cove Commons property?
that's the around the library and the.
Oh, that's what
gallery.
when I say Hearth property, that's what you're.
Yes, we
that's
call
what-
it Hope Commons, yeah. The whole property, even the back side.
Yes, right, okay, absolutely.
I think that would be a nice thought.
Is that where the tourist office is?
Yeah, behind, yeah. All that sort of, when we did the big landscaping
Yeah, yeah.
thing, we cleaned all that up and
Right.
removed those old sheds and
Yeah, it looks great. Is there any more development slated, or is that, we're now complete on that?
We're hoping maybe to put a shed in,
Okay,
but
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. But that still leaves a lot of,
there's a lot of space back
Lot of
there. It's quite
opportunity back
lovely,
there.
yeah.
okay,
It's called a parklet.
great.
It's this cute little park with benches and rocks and trees.
Does anybody, just before we close the conversation on new public art, does anybody have any other ideas or suggestions right off, just on the top of your head about? Yeah, Judy.
Stacy Beamer had an old burnt out cedar stump that he had, I don't know if you remember it at I guess the southeast side of the parking lot in the old gas station. And it was like 2 or 3 sections of a big tall old cedar. He had a bench on the inside of it, and you could go and sit in the middle and you'd feel like you were in the inside of a, 1,000-year-old cedar tree. And it had been damaged in a fire, so that it was, basically it's a technique that the Japanese use to treat wood. When you burn cedar, it's got a specific name to it, but it becomes not petrified, but certainly
Impervious to the
no,
element in the breakdown.
indestructible.
Mhm.
And he had that, and I'm not sure what's happened to it, but that was a wonderful piece that I had put in a proposal at one point to buy. Can't remember what the funding source was, to have it installed at the end of Festival Field. And it tells the story of old growth forests. It tells the story of cedar. You really get a sense of being inside a gigantic old tree. And I don't know if that's still available or,
I wasn't necessarily asking so much about possible works. That's more about locations.
All right, well,
It sounds like it's
on
on
the
the
record anyway.
It's on the record anyway. I'm curious about when you say you were looking to purchase it and get it
It
placed
was a
somewhere.
funding source at some point that I applied for.
You as a private citizen.
I think it was Heritage, probably.
Okay.
Might have been Arts Council.
And what was the property you were referring to?
Oh, I thought the perfect place for it was at the end of Festival Field. We used to have a snag down there. I don't know if there still is one, but it would be,
Is that the one that leads right into the water at
Yeah.
Union Steamship?
yeah, we're
Oh,
both.
that's- yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is still a snag there. It's quite a beautiful one.
Yeah.
That's
But that was-
that's metro
that
property,
became-
isn't it?
Yes, and that became very complicated.
Right.
But it's not impossible.
Yeah, I'd love to try, as we kind of gear up our processes on this. I'd love to try keeping the potential locations to Bowen Muni property rather than engaging a third or second or third stakeholder. Just because that process does get more complicated and involves a lot more back and forth in contract negotiations. So the simpler is better, I think, when we're first out of the gate. So I don't know.
There's some, yes, there's definitely that, but there's some places that are, just itching for a good installation.
Oh, there's so many, absolutely. Oh, it's right with them for sure. Yeah. Okay, so how do we, Steph, identify this as an action item for the next meeting, but attach it to the homework that we have been deferring on the inventory list? So everyone was assigned specific.
We're moving on to inventory.
Well, not necessarily. I'm sorry. We will. I'm trying to get a sense of like, maybe we'll just capture that in the next section then. Let's do that. Okay, let's move on. Nothing else?
Okay, just so for this, we have to, is next meeting, talk about Andrew's proposal. And we'll get Phil's amendments into the accession policy.
Mhm.
And did you want us like some kind of solid list of locations that?
Yeah, I would really love to be able to have a solid list of possible locations that we can identify and then investigate.
Like approve or something and like.
Well, I mean, we're going to have to run through a process of determining whether they're viable. With a bunch of parameters, and they may be, maybe the owner or the municipality says, that site is off limits because we have its future changes are negating that as a possibility. It would be great to know that rather than imagine all the possibilities but have no concrete locations to.
I think that's a good idea. Different staff when I bounce the ideas around, that was something reactions to locations, whether
Sure.
park staff like, maintenance or liability.
Yeah.
So it might be a good idea to get that list, maybe even take it to council for review.
Mm.
That way staff can get their eyes on it and then you're free at that point.
Right. As long as we're also noting, there are certain things that we can accept responsibility for, so that if any location was chosen, maintenance is ours as
Yeah.
community responsibility that way. Right. So yeah, I know everybody's always afraid that it's gonna be, added workload, and we don't wanna freak anyone out. Yep.
The action item in the last minute, August said, staff are gonna locate and share a map of Bowen Island, identifies jurisdictional properties, including BIM land, Metro Vancouver, Crown and private.
Yeah, so I followed up with Bonnie on that and she couldn't really help me, and then left. But there's an ortho Bowen map.
Yeah, full map.
Well, yeah, but it's not been made pretty
Okay.
and poster or anything.
I think we had a wish list in terms of, that would be an ideal spot for whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is that up to date, that phone map?
so Bo map is, it's an everybody wants to talk about it. It's very exciting.
Well, the Google map is great. It's available to anybody online.
Is it?
Mhm.
Okay.
So there's a
Yeah,
wealth of
right now.
information on it.
All one word, Bo map?
Google map. Mhm. And you can set filters for things like parks and
Mm.
trails or different amenities on the island or ownership as well. So it's a lot of information that's readily available to.
So I've got it here.
In those minutes, you also had possible sites, your community center, recycling depot, Earthen Library, West Side Playscape, Grafton Lake Trail, the old fire hall, Veterans Park, crosswalks, and digitally accessible space. So that's a really good start.
Mhm.
And it was, I think that was a lot of, just sort of tossing out of ideas. There was no prioritized process that went.
I think the old fire hall has to come off it, actually.
Yeah, that's under, is that now BC Hydro? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
The new fire hall.
Or the new fire.
So that's municipal property, isn't it?
So does
Would be, wouldn't
it
it?
Pardon?
update those things?
Yeah, and then. So a good action to add to that list and take away,
Yep.
and then we kind of like. go to
Sure.
the next.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Do you want me to do that?
Please.
Sorry, I thought number 3, I didn't see, it wasn't highlighted, the hearth from the library. I missed it, so it is actually there,
Okay.
but you could change it to Cove Commons if you want. So we're
Okay.
a common word.
I'll take away fire hall.
Good, okay, we'll move on to 4.3, public art inventory. Is that on this list here? I think this, yeah, I just saw it, okay. So I thought we had identified specific people to investigate. I don't see any nature.
I see yours.
You see mine?
Pretty sure.
Wonder I was. I have actually, has anyone been to any of them?
Julian, you went around Tunstall, didn't you?
I went and looked at the plaque on the sculpture or the pole rather, that's right as a sign, the Tunstall Bay sign at the top. But to be honest, I did that in August last year, so I do not remember what it said on that plaque. But it's not in good condition, that piece.
I went and saw the what we're calling the totem at the entrance, like the Tunstall Bay Road, the beginning of Tunstall Bay Road. That's kind of hidden behind a bunch of foliage. That's it's still there. I think I have pictures on my phone of who made it.
Thought this was pretty much up to date. I
Yeah,
thought we had all
it
done
is.
this homework.
It is looking pretty good.
I talked to Bill Hoops and got all that.
You got a bunch of information.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So I think, oh, we have two carved things on, well, that's private. I think what we should do, if we're going to assume, this is fairly complete. There's always going to be, gaps in these things. I think our next strategy with this is to try and determine what we want to keep in the registry as artwork and things that we would want to divest ourselves of any alliance to. So if we added that to the next meeting, that would be quite a big meeting.
My question is about the condition. Have you noticed there are a bunch of question marks there? How do you find the condition?
Well, yeah, I think, you know, we don't have the kind of budget that's going to allow us to hire somebody to actually go through and do proper conservation reports.
Do we delete that column then?
Could we ask Andrew if he could spare any time just to have a quick, not a detailed look, but he's certainly got some business.
Under time?
It is his business. He's not cheap. I don't know how.
Nobody does volunteer work too. So,
Okay.
you know, if we could tap into whatever time he does have to contribute, that'd be.
We're not gonna spend the time on pieces that are on private property.
Right. So I think, yeah, right. So we would determine what we want to keep and then,
And then maybe assess.
then make an assessment on the condition and what, because it would have budget implications as soon as we determine that something is in terrible condition and we've decided we want to keep it. Then we have to figure out how we're gonna,
Find money to restore.
that's right.
Yeah.
So let's figure out what we want first, and then I think it's a great idea. Thank you. Do you, rather than throw another thing at Phil, do you know Andrew well? Okay, is that a conversation you'd be comfortable having or
Well, may I,
passing by? Yeah.
sorry, may I suggest though that we hold off on that conversation till
Oh,
we
yeah.
make a decision about his art piece that he's offering presentation?
That's a good point. Otherwise,
Yeah.
conflict of interest. Yep. Yep, it'll make it look like we're trying to squeeze more.
Oh,
Or something, yeah, okay. Well, we'll have a closer decision on his artwork on that donation idea after next meeting. And then we can revisit this conversation. Actually, the inventory is going to be the following meeting to clarify what we're keeping or what we're going to accept responsibility for. And then we can have that conversation. So yeah, it's far enough away that won't be a problem. So let's tuck that idea back of our heads then, Judy. It's a good one. Thank you. Okay. Does anybody have anything else to add into the inventory issue or questions? Judy, I know this is all fresh for you.
I've been working.
You've been lurking. Very good. Doing your, well,
Nothing's fresh.
okay.
would it be important to, not just in addition to condition, but that's something that's actually a measure of safety? Because some of these pieces, they may not be in good condition, but that doesn't represent a liability.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of levels of condition. You know, they can be in great condition. You know, they can be in good condition with issues. I think the part where it gets concerning for us or with municipality is if it's in incredibly poor condition and is represented by the issue. Yeah, that's something that, you know, would be possible to determine through the conservator or, you know, if even one of us goes and assesses a site or takes a look at it and we are, you know, we have some, you know, something is jumping out at us as a possible problem. We could, then I would probably suggest even inviting, what do you call the Bowen words here? what is there? There's a
Public Works.
Public Works? Okay, yeah. Like that would be something we may want to initiate a conversation with them, have them come down and view it, take a look, because they're also super knowledgeable about.
Yeah, I think, I don't know who we would ask within that, but, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like a brief thing. It's not a super involved thing, but just to say, you know, hey, do you think this is a problem? Because they're assessing that stuff all the time. I mean, you know, whether it's a lamp standard or a bus shelter or a bench, you know, a lot of the same structural concerns would be kind of present or could be present for public art stuff too, right? Yeah.
Is that who assesses those things, Jillian?
I'm not sure, and we would have to talk to the appropriate staff, because we as a committee can't direct them to do that.
No, but there must be someone that keeps an eye on benches, for instance, make sure they're still safe.
Perhaps I can find out. That's sort of thing.
Can I ask like a bigger question about the inventory?
Yeah.
So gathering from the example you just talked about assessing something and deciding we want to keep it. Right now, it seems like there's a bunch of things on Bowen that we could like assert our responsibility for and say, this is public art, this is on our list. And it's that stuff all currently seems to be like the thing in the spectator work. It's in this kind of weird gray zone of ownership and, you know,
Yep.
somebody put this statue there, you know, 50 years ago and we, you know, no one's ever done anything with it. So I think an important thing in our decision making here is that when we do put it on our list and say, you know, this is on the official list, we're basically saying, and now we're willing to take care of it. No, okay. Not automatically. Okay.
The Heritage Register is a good, something you can look at.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
The Heritage Register, they just have a registry, but they're not saying.
yeah,
Okay.
Because the ownership question still remains.
Yeah.
The maintenance responsibility is also still an open question, which I think if we determine, let's say, X number of artworks, we're going to quote unquote retain into our registry.
Yeah.
At that point, it would be probably a good idea for us to start, depending on where the ownership lies, drafting some kind of arrangement, contract or something that lays out in writing so that we keep it on file for our records. Who's responsible for maintenance? And we don't have to necessarily confirm someone else being responsible, but we can definitely confirm that we're not. And that can be clearly stated within the records of the registry, that the maintenance responsibility, you know, is for whatever. We would just list that.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't have to automatically take it on just because we're saying we want to keep it in that, keep it as part of the public art registry of Bowen. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we're
Yeah.
not like.
No, I know.
It's a legal situation where we're on the hook. for
Absolutely.
everything.
Yeah.
it's the third column, says ownership and responsibility.
Yes, that's right. It is on there, isn't it? See, it's a little vague though, isn't it? Because I think
Yeah.
there's Metro with a question mark. You have
There are many
a lot of
unknowns.
questions. Okay. And some of them, yeah, the private ones, that's something that we would want to maybe, you know, discuss as a committee to determine whether, you know, do we want to even identify works on private land as part of well, see, but Spirit of the Flame, for instance, technically is also on private land, and we would want to recognize that because it's kind of one of the larger, more prominent pieces that we have. You know, we can't point to a lot of stuff. We can point to that one. So getting a contract in place, which I don't think we have yet, for the bell ringers are on that property, right? Yeah. So that's something. See, that's another thing we would have to do. We want to get a proper contract in place that they're like, yeah, it's all okay. Right now, we're just assuming everybody's good with it all.
Question?
Yeah.
When we did the heritage inventory, a lot of that was described in the legislation. So there's a specific section for heritage in the Local Government Act, but it seems to me that there's a number of categories, whether it's private or public, and whether it's who has whether, I know there's tax incentives for various heritage maintenance kinds of things, but it seems to me that if we want to develop an inventory, it would help if we knew the kinds of how we want to divide it up, and what are the categories. So if there's liability, or if there's one of the things in terms of when I look at all the totems, it's like how many of those might be considered inauthentic, and whether or not we should be.
Most of them. except for-
Well, some may or may not be, and we're going to become sensitive to local First Nations aesthetics, and aesthetics is a horrible conversation to have, but do we want something in our inventory that is considered to be inauthentic, or culturally insensitive and stuff like that? So we're supporting and paying for it, restoring potentially, and doing all sorts of wonderful things for the piece that is offensive to in some way to another group. So somehow or other, I think we need to maybe figure out how to evaluate that.
Definitely, that is a conversation that
Yeah.
has been brought up in the past, for sure.
And what we did for the Heritage Registry here was everybody brainstormed every conceivable thing that had any kind of, whether it was a building or a place, or a tree, or, any natural habitat that had any kind of heritage value, which was defined as it was important for somebody sometime at some place. And then we narrowed it down in terms of the 10 properties that went on the first inventory were all public. All of them had permission of the owner. And once you're on the registry, then there's legislative protections and incentives and tax things and all this kind of stuff. So, what difference does it make if there's an inventory list? And, what do we want to do with that? Is it going to be for protection, for maintenance, for advertising, for some sort of incentives? And the other thing I'm thinking of is that when we did the what are those things called, the community, when you built the kiosks, we had a community cooperative agreement or something around. So we NERC group bought all the materials and did the building, and then the Muni took over, I think, maintenance. I'm looking at you like you're the Muni.
I'm sorry. The
I know. So there's something there in terms of there are precedents in terms of agreements, so that once you take it to a certain step, then you can, it has to be accepted by council, but it's that discussion in terms of ongoing maintenance gets taken over kind of thing.
It's like the stage.
Work program.
It's like the stage in front of the hearth.
Yeah.
We found the funding, we had it built, but now it's donated.
Yeah. Yes.
The whole property is donated to BIM, and now they're responsible for maintenance.
So maybe the collateral or collaborative agreements or something that, if there's a private person that wants to get into donating the restoration of the Eagle or the Spectator or something like that, and then there's, you take all the responsibility for doing X, Y, and Z, and then it's donated, and it becomes something that the whole municipality shares in. But I don't know if you've gone through most of those kinds of questions and issues. That's what comes to mind for me.
To some degree, yes, to some degree, no. Yeah, it's part of, a lot of that is going to come up as our policies are put into play. And we haven't had much of an opportunity to do that yet. This recommendation from Andrew Todd would be like the first one for an official acquisition. We ran with the Walk Walk Wall mural. We ran that was our first attempt at putting out a public call, convening a jury, that sort of thing. So a lot of this, I mean, although our committee is what, 3 years old or something like that? I don't know, is it okay? I don't know, that's fine. So much of our work is still in the nascent stage. So yeah, it's a lot of this is still to be developed and to be figured out, but all good points for sure. I think Phil, you had a comment.
I think also making the list and what you were talking about, comparing it to the heritage thing. We also are trying hard not to be the people who decide what is beautiful and gets kept. Like the whole acquisition process set it to a jury that decides whether an artwork is acceptable, to come into our system. And there's a bit of that happening when we make this list and think, oh, this is art and this isn't, and this. So I think for like community political reasons, we like to be a step removed from the aesthetic choices that are made. And you talking about that reminded me, or it put up a flag for me that making the inventory is a little bit of like this one, not that one. And I think we want to step away as the body that's deciding that, because that's not really our role.
I think I might disagree with you on that one.
Okay.
To some degree. I absolutely believe that arm's length distance on jury selection for new work is important, 100%. I don't want it to look like we're gatekeeping all of it.
Yeah.
But this is, I feel like the inventory is something that we inherit as a public art committee now. And we it's our job kind of to determine whether it's valid or not valid. And I know there's an element of aesthetic decision-making going on.
Yeah.
There's much more than that, an element of assessing liability, assessing maintenance needs, assessing ownership. These are all our jobs. So as much as I agree, I don't want to look like we're gatekeeping stuff. And invisibly making aesthetic decisions and writing things off one way or another. Partly it is a bit of the task we're faced with.
Okay.
I think BIM is looking to us too, as
Yeah.
this committee.
Absolutely. That's what we're doing here. Yeah. We are thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to stick out for one question following this time.
Yeah, you bet. Anyway, yeah, no, I like the conversation. Yeah. It's good to be sensitive to those things. I just think it's the job we need to kind of have to take on. I don't want to, try to convince the jury. I don't think it changes much if we're throwing it also on the public to make.
No. Yeah, and I don't really think it's a dream, but I just want to recognize that we're doing that.
Yes.
Like, talking about the authenticity of First Nations works, things that look First Nations. Ends up being an aesthetic decision. We're kind of gatekeeping when it comes to that.
Partly, but I mean, it's a decision. It's those kinds of decisions that exactly I think we're being tasked with. That's the reason we exist is to kind of answer those thorny questions and make those determinations. Who else is going to do it?
Yeah, fair enough.
I think we'll move on from that. That was a long 10 minutes. About 20, yeah. Let's oh, I really cut you off, Jillian. Do you want to jump right into 5.1? Or have we, that's Snug Cove Cultural Corner.
Oh, right. No, I just flagged it to go on the agenda just so that everyone's aware that that this happened, so that the donation of the cultural corner, as Jamie just mentioned, has come to council to accept that donation into BIM ownership.
And it's happened, it's done.
And it was approved at council. So as Jamie mentioned, it's the structure, that's the entire project. It's the stage, it's the
that little parklet and the benches in the back, and it's also that artwork across the stage.
And so the artwork is, the artwork maintenance responsibility is with the municipality, but not on us through the municipality.
I don't know the logistics of that,
Okay.
quite honestly.
That's a good question, because we don't really have that in our,
We don't have it on the registry.
yeah, but I
we would-
think we've talked about that,
Yeah.
about going forward.
Absolutely.
Who
Yeah.
maintains the going forward projects?
Yeah, I mean, I'd
Like
like to
this.
see it on the registry.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
And if you know, when you think about, okay, realistically, if it becomes BIM's responsibility to do, well, there isn't anybody with that expertise on staff anyway, right? And we would potentially be looking to something like our partner organizations to be sourcing that expertise.
right.
I think it's part of our agreement with the artists, like Simon, that we would ask them to maintain it.
We would give them the right of first refusal,
yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a $1,000 contribution towards maintenance as part of that donation. It's written up in that
Oh, yeah.
staff report. The piece
what-
I also
What
want-
percentage did that,
Oh, I don't know.
1,000 is what percentage of the value of the?
I don't know.
Don't know. Okay.
It's, the value is $10,000 for the piece.
Oh, so 10%, yeah, 10%. I mean, it seems a little low, $1,000, but yeah, it's 10% of the work. Okay, yep.
And we've put the link to the policy on the agenda just as a way of making sure everybody knew that that Kristen was handling a lot of this, our CFO, and she was following the policy in accepting that art and donation.
Beautiful.
But yeah, I'm working with Tina as well. She's quite passionate about it. Like I had to ask questions like page 12 of the policy. So it was pretty exciting to see.
Great, okay. So
Yeah.
it's sort of functioning.
Yeah, really functioning.
Okay, love it. Action item review. You're okay? That's good.
Yep.
Moving on from there. Okay. Action item review. Okay, let's just quickly run through this. Agreement, wow, still on there. Agreement with the Artist of Flame. Spirit of the Flame. With the Artist of Spirit of the Flame, or is that new artwork called Spirit Flame too? No, okay. Spirit of the Flame.
Eagle defending.
Eagle Descending, okay. I'm gonna assume that we have not. Oh, no, I recall that somebody did look for an agreement. There was really nothing in place. Am I correct about that stuff? Does anybody have a recollection of that?
I think that's.
Yeah.
We were looking around.
There was nothing at that point
Nothing around, yeah.
when that was created.
And then,
Controversy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, it's, yeah, these are good in the newspaper.
I think more important than, I mean, the agreement with the artist would be great. But it's sort of a done deal now, but I think more importantly, an agreement with the owners of the land that's would be a much more important thing right now.
And I'm recalling that's the bell ringers.
It's the bell ringers, yeah. So that's do we have any documents that might be helpful in us creating a document for them? Like, does BIM have other?
Like a boilerplate
I
kind of.
think that's
Yeah.
down at the bottom of the action items because then it sort of fell into some of the corporate officers templates of contracts and so it's sort of.
So I was gonna, oh yeah, see, it was on me. I was gonna past actions. I
Oh.
called it.
Come on, Scott.
Yeah, right.
I didn't want to say.
I don't, it's nice to have some sort of document that they could read through and sign. Alter effect, yeah, see, this is, okay. So let's put,
It seems to be a difficult one for us to. move on
right,
the action.
I know.
It's also like it's on the right of way, it's not right on the right of way. You look at the map and it's hard to tell exactly on the map where the.
clear, right? So let's drag past action item number 4 up to the list. And scratch number 1, I think we looked and came up empty on number 1.
Okay.
Jamie has shared the comments private information, so we can scratch that.
Okay.
Look, we have the O map.
We want to put an action that you could like to have to look around and bow map and see if that suits your purposes.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Sure,
and that'll be you,
sure.
everyone, you.
You, me, everyone. Do we like it? Yeah, I mean, we should get familiar with it anyway.
It's pretty, I've played with it, and it's
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
So give you, everyone has homework. You have to do the west side, you do the east side. Where is the big last? Sections.
Confirm the community center site is a possible location or not a possible location for the plinth. I'm looking at you. Why am I looking at you?
Well, because I'm on
You're
that side
you're
every
on
day.
that side. That would be why.
Yeah. I'm really hesitant to do anything on that site that's increasing cost of construction.
I think that is what you said.
I would say that.
Yeah, is that you don't want to use anybody's scope at this point.
We're just not in a position to do that.
Yeah.
What if it wasn't increasing scope of work or budget constraints on them?
Well, that's what I was going to say, that maybe what we just need to do, maybe it's just a matter of looking at the plans, or when it's a little further down the road. I don't know if I can take everybody on site, but I could take some and actually walk, and look at. Because it's one thing to talk about it during construction and think about empty walls, or thinking about, the land in the front or the land in the back, but it's a little bit, it's different in construction as opposed to when it's actually moving along.
Mhm.
When we're talking about a plinth, I'm not understanding fully, we're not, because we haven't decided anything, but is this something that's indoors? Is this something that's outdoors? Is it something that's prominent in the entryway? Is it something that's more a hidden, beautiful element that you discover as you're walking around the grounds? Is it like, there's just a lot of options here? Yeah. Right, so.
I miss it.
Site visit, yeah.
There was something in the drawings that had like a big sculpture in the front courtyard as you went in.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Oh, okay, very early drawings though. And it seems to me that if you don't want to change the scope of work in any way, shape or form with what's going on now, then that leaves whatever we're talking about in terms of getting more fill or doing landscaping or all of these things that are possibly coming afterwards and aren't part of the general construction. Would that be right?
There are landscaping elements that are within scope, within the contract, but it's not entirely defined. Because it's had to change, as we had to take out more trees and plant or various elements around. There's a lot of different earthworks than what was anticipated during the design phase. So the landscaping plan has to be redone. And quite honestly, I've been a lot of us have been sort of pushing back on doing that final work, knowing that change will happen again. So why get that work done and then change it again? So I think there's so much potential. I just think it's a hard time to identify where.
Well, even if we just put a mark on a map, right?
Yeah.
Or something, that whether or not it actually gets installed and it costs anything. There's a mark on a map so that it's, the X marks the spot where there would be a beautiful whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Either, a welcoming, what is the Squamish, I can't remember the name of the character that does.
Oh, the welcome figure,
Yeah. Right? Or whether it's,
North.
Andrews, something modern and metal and whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that we've got a raging debate about aesthetics and, or something that changes.
Mhm.
Site visit?
At this point, yeah, at this
I'd
point.
love
it's
to. I
just-
think that would be amazing.
Okay, good.
Let's do that.
Just to
keep it open.
courtyard,
Yeah.
got, you know, maybe that sitting place that's down below,
Mhm.
you know.
I think there are, okay, let's have a site visit. But there's also still the windows, which I didn't talk about today, but I'm very strongly in favor of some sort of window treatment that is both designed scientifically effective to prevent bird strikes and incredibly beautiful.
That would be a really nice follow-up to the mural open call, kind of thing like that, where you've got.
And those
It's nice
specs
type
are done,
parameters,
right?
the specs are
There
done.
we go, the next
Yeah.
project.
Yeah, well, it would be good because it's not a complicated one. You've got nice tight parameters and all you're asking for is someone to, all we may be asking for is someone to come up with a design that we can facilitate the execution of and pay for the materials. And all we're paying is an artist fee for the idea, right?
Yeah, and I can easily get all those specs from Bird Studies Canada and the city of Vancouver when they were doing it.
I think that would be a good one.
It's a low.
Yeah, right? It really is. Can we, let's mark that as how do we capture that as a.
We haven't looked at our budget. I don't know what's in the bank.
I'll have that number for next meeting.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't.
Action item. Budget number for Jillian next meeting and let's
Well, why don't I will doodle poll you all about a site visit.
excellent.
Very exciting.
Okay.
Number 5, I don't have any recollection about that. West Side Playscape, what is this?
You're supposed to pretend.
I know, right?
Remember,
It
it's
is.
shameless.
Yeah,
Um,
fully honest.
what does it say? This, I provide information regarding the West Side Playscape project to PAAC members. I wonder if it has to do with the collaborative services agreement. I feel like they were the spearheaders of that. So it might be in that context. We don't remember. I think we're done, cross it off.
But it's a nice space and it's on the list of possible locations.
Where is the west
Yeah,
side?
what is it?
Oh,
Blue Water Park and King Edward Bay and what is that ridge called?
Arbutus Ridge.
So when you're going out to Blue Water Park and you get just past Emily Lane, which is the King Edward Bay project, and the next road on your right, which has a very funny little name. Pat Ross or something, can't remember. Anyway, it's a woman's name and it goes up the hill. You can see the road going up and then right at the corner of. What is that, Grafton? What is that?
Windjammer. Windjammer?
Windjammer, okay, Windjammer and whatever that little lane is. There's a beautiful big massive wood playscape.
Oh,
And there were 3 moms that did some massive fundraising, did a collaborative agreement with the Muni and got it all put up. And it's a fabulous thing. And what they want to do is have exercise stations for adults while the kids are running around and
I'm supposed to be doing that.
there you go.
all right, so we're informed that I think,
Consider yourselves.
yeah, consider
Okay.
us informed.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you very much. Beautiful. How about number 6? Anything? We got A, B, and C. Sewer multi-use path, project completion, possible crosswalk design competition. Any further info on that? Or are we'll retain that one for next meeting as a,
Knowing.
gonna keep it up?
Well, I think we can take off sewer because I'm not sure why we would do anything around the. I think the cross.
It was more about
They're gonna
the
take up the
timing.
road.
If
They're gonna rip it up.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think well, that may affect some crosswalks around the island, but not a
Okay,
lot.
so really, the question is about crosswalk.
Was it like the
Yeah.
4 corners, maybe?
Yeah, and the multi-use path, I mean, it's a many-year, right, project, right? So the current, as you know, it comes to Artisan Square and turn off. So the next section up towards Charlie's Lane will be the next one, but I don't know exactly the timeline.
All right.
We keep getting reports that there's all sorts of massive complications. So.
It's so complicated how to do it. And
Yeah.
I think this relates to the multi-use path that's on the lower one.
Maybe that's what's it, 'cause it was all written
That
up by the
sewer was part of that, and then the parking lot by the library, and it was all
That was
one
all-
big messy
That's
project.
right,
Yeah.
that's right.
Okay, it's done.
And it's
Oh,
done.
yeah, let's kill that. I think do we not want to retain the conversation about the potential repainting of the crosswalks in an art capacity? We want to keep
I
that?
think we should keep that on the
Keep that
table.
on the table, okay. I don't know how to capture that as an action item, though. We're gonna,
Yeah,
What about if you,
possible locations for artwork.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah. I do know that Liam has strong feelings about that paint, the paint that's used on roads, because it's really toxic
Who
and
had
it's
strong feelings?
our CAO.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because it's a really toxic product, and as it wears off easily with foot and vehicle traffic, where does it go?
Right,
It goes into our oceans.
sure.
So if, you know,
So
if we're
it's-
using environmental assessments as part of our sort of measure of products.
there may be better
projects.
products out there now.
Is there,
I don't know.
Well,
Well, I don't know. I mean, they do wear off easily, right?
But so does the.
so how do they justify the road markings?
Yeah.
As necessity.
Necessity. But crosswalks are a safety necessity too. If you don't have them, people could get around.
Put two lines as opposed to, and having volunteers put down layers of paint.
So the actual application of toxic materials is a concern too.
Well, I know from his perspective, it's the runoff of it into the oceans.
Okay, there's other ways. I wonder if like there's some, you know, we could slurry blast designs into the pavement.
Oh, wow. I don't even know what that is. It sounds
But
great.
it gives it some texture, so you're actually not embossing, you're debossing. Is it the right way around? I always-
That's good for accessibility as well.
Kind of is, yeah, they would be able to feel it. So it's already built in mechanism for that, although I don't know if, is it easy to, depending on the design, is it easy to differentiate between the designed part and any other crack in the pavement? I don't know. Anyway, we'll keep crosswalks on the list of possible new locations to discuss.
Okay.
Whole Saturdays for cleaning, that one's done. Consult Municipal Insurance Association regarding public art insurance. See, I don't know how it works here, but with Vancouver, we don't insure individual pieces of public art because they're just insured under the overall policy that the whole city pays for. Is that not the same for the Muni?
Did you find something about this? Insurance?
Well, I know that with the donation of the project, Co-Commons, I know
That was
person
terrific.
needed the value of the art piece for maybe additional insurance or damage.
It might be soon concluded.
Right, so you get the evaluation of the artwork and then it just gets entered into the general policy. Yeah,
Yeah,
that should be how it runs.
I'm thinking the
Yeah.
mural is the same thing, right? It,
Yeah.
That should be a really 5-minute question for.
It has been, it's just so long ago.
I think we could probably ask, and then- or maybe it was before Kirsten arrived.
It was,
And
yeah.
just- Yeah, it was actually, and there was nobody to ask the question to.
Yeah.
So does that mean
And
there's
so I
something?
think,
to ask the
I'm
question?
sure I heard her answer this question
Yeah.
while standing in her doorway months ago.
Okay, so can we can still that one? All right. And I'm just gonna run through these, the last three here, and then we can call it good, because we're already running over time by 10 minutes here. Literacy task group about the Braille signage, Jillian. Oh, sorry, Jim, pointing that wrong way. Did that conversation ever come back up?
No, but it's something we could address for that with them with the 2024 budget. Well, Jamie and I could bring that for us.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know Alex has. He and I spoke very briefly recently about, finishing that up and getting that. The addition onto the sign.
Mhm.
And I think he was also working further on the full interpretation of the entire panel written. Or
Oh,
the
wow.
entire mural written in Braille.
Okay,
But it's not a direct interpretation. It's the telling of the story of it. So I can see what's going on there.
okay.
I don't want any more action items.
No, yeah, no, let's not.
For that.
That can be deferred. And that writes off number 2 anyway, and then and then number 3 is the
Oh, that's the condition.
artwork condition report. Did I ever send one over? Probably I didn't. Let's put that back up on my list and I will dig one out of my files.
Is that just like a template?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and then there's a big one about.
Okay.
the Spirit flame.
Da, da, da. Okay, I'm going to assume that we can just, Steph, you're just gonna throw out another doodle poll for the next meeting, or have we already figured that one out? No,
No,
okay, you'll do that. So I'm just gonna move to adjourn.
Can I quickly do some new business?
Oh, new business, yeah.
It looked like in that email that Rita is saying goodbye to this committee. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Could we put it in the minutes that we thank her for her excellent work with us?
Super good call.
Yay,
Thank you very much. If we can, can we make little, thank you package? Is that something we can budget?
I trying to
Maybe
think.
if it's ours.
I know, right?
don't
Oh, how
know
does
if
that?
I don't know if that
Can't really do that, right?
Good.
Because we,
Have a card, we could do a card that we have signed.
yeah, we could do that.
You don't have a card in your desk right now, do you, that we could, I might. Since, you know, some of us are.
Let's do something, let's do some planning outside the public meeting.
Okay.
Good idea. Sounds great.
Someone knows.
Good point. Thank you, Phil. That was very sweet and kind. Any other new business, Phil, with that lovely? Yes or no? Okay, move to adjourn.
Second.
Lovely. Thank you all. Yay, first meeting in person. That was cool.